I kept telling you, if you ask for it, they will build it. And they did. In this video, we're going to take a look at the new Anvil Foundry 18-gallon. Full disclosure on this, Anvil did send me the Foundry 18 for testing and review. And so let's just jump into what the unit is and what all the capacities are. And I know a lot of you always, when I put out these type of videos, ask me, what's the dimensions of this and that? What's the dimensions of this part and how tall is it? And I'll have all of that information, or at least as much as I could think that you would ask for at the end of the video. So stay tuned for all the dimensions on everything. Let's take a look at it. So it is a 18-gallon or 68-liter approximately gallon single vessel brewing system. Now it has a malt pipe just like the original one did, and there are a couple different things about the malt pipe on this one that are kind of cool, so we'll get into that in just a second. It is a double wall insulated kettle. It has a 4,000 watt element, which in this class is definitely a class leading amount of power. I mean, there's not really any other brewing system except for some that are maybe 3 to 4 times the price that have this much power. So it has a 4,000 watt. It is a low wattage densities to help avoid any scorching or anything like that. Let's take a look at the front of the unit. On the front of the unit, you have the typical ball valve that comes on the Anvil Foundries. It's the same one that comes on the 10.5. It does rotate and allow you to rotate the dip tube inside of the vessel. It also has a removable spout on it, or a removable hose barb on the outside. Also on the front of the unit is the power switch, the on-off power switch. Now, because of the way the controller is made for this particular unit, it does not have multiple element switches. So there's only a single power switch, and the element is actually controlled by the controller. And one of the things that's a little bit unique to the Foundries, both of them, they have a true PID controller with pulse width modulation. So basically what that means is that you can dial in your power percentage on your element. So if you want it to be at 50%, 40%, whatever, it's not controlled by the controller, you know, automatically like on some of them. And then some other systems in this line, in this class, have just basically you set the power and then adjust it basically based on, you know, how many switches, how many elements you have on. The other thing it does have also is a delay. And how you do that is basically you just put in your temperature that you want to strike at, put in your power percentage, which I would suggest 100 if you're going to do a delayed start, and then you just hold down the power percentage button after putting your power percentage in, hold it down for 10 seconds, and then that will allow you to set hour increments for the delay. So if you want them 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever. So that's how you do that. Now on the back of the unit, you've got the reset switch. There's a couple of louvered openings in there. One of them has a fan in it. The other one's just for a vent. And this is a actively cooled system. So there is fans running inside of there that do kick on when the elements kick on, and also stay on for a little while after the elements kick off. Now for power consumption, this does have a NEMA 620p plug. So it is a 20 amp rated unit. And the good thing about it being a 20 amp rated unit, if you have a 10.5 that you're running on 240 volts, and you built one of my extension cords with the GFCI built into it, and I'll leave a link up here and down in the description for the extension cord. The only real thing you have to do is just change out the end of the cord and put the 620p plug on the end of it, and it will run fine. Trust me, I've run this thing for probably an hour or more with that extension cord, a 50-foot extension cord, the GFCI in there, the dip that swapped out the plug, and I mean, it runs fine. The GFCI does get a little bit warm, but nothing that's any cause for concern at all. It seems, you know, to run just fine. Like I said, you know, had no issues with that at all. So it will definitely handle that amount of wattage of element based on, you know, what my tests are. Now let's talk about grain capacities. The minimum batch size according to or minimum grain size according to the instruction manual is 8 pounds, and the maximum is 36 pounds. Now, one of the things that they have changed on this system is the way that the malt pipe is constructed. Now, the malt pipe actually has a false bottom that's removable, and one of the cool things about it is that some of the technology from their higher in line, Blickman, actually has trickled down into the Anvil Foundry. So Anvil has actually borrowed the technology from Blickman and used the louvered false bottom in the malt pipe on the Foundry 18-gallon. So with the louvered false bottom, I can tell you for sure I have in my Herm system, I use the same false bottom in my Herm system. And, you know, I get crystal clear wort out of there. So one of the things that is a trade-off with being able to have a finer grain bed because of the way that the louvered false bottom works is that you're probably going to have to use some rice hulls if you use like wheat or any kind of flaked adjunct or anything like that. Now, like I said before, the false bottom is removable, and one of the nice things about it, it has a couple little detents on the malt pipe so that whenever you push it down in there, it kind of snaps into place. It's not real hard to get out or anything like that, but it's just one of those things kind of when you push it down into the, like if you've got the vessel full and you drop it in there in the water, the false bottom's not going to flip out or anything like that. As far as batch sizes go, it is designed to do 5-gallon or 10-gallon batches. As I stated earlier, the minimum grain bill is 8 pounds. And one of the cool things that they did on this as well was they included markings for a 5-gallon batch as well as 10-gallon batches. Now, you might be kind of wondering why they're offset in the malt pipe. The way these things are constructed, there's a stamp that they stick the sheet metal into, and the jaws of that stamp are only so deep, so they have to stick one in and then flip it around and stick it in the other side. And I would imagine probably so they didn't have issues with it lining up, they just went ahead and separated them out altogether. So that's why they're separated in there. But it is very nice that they included both 5-gallon markings and 10-gallon markings. Now, I think probably based on the capacity of this system, since it will hold up to 18 gallons, I'm going to try to push it up to 15 gallons on maybe like a lager or something like that. That's about, 4 or 5% ABV. So stay tuned for those videos. I'm going to be running it through a complete, battery of tests, 10 gallons, 5 gallons, try to do a 15-gallon batch. So those will definitely be upcoming. Now, the other cool thing about the malt pipe is that it does have a double catch system. So when you get up into the 20, 30 pounds of grain, and then you got like 5 or 6 pounds of, or 5 or 6 gallons of water in there, you're probably getting up to 50, 60 pounds of weight in the malt pipe. Now, a lot of these systems just have either a hook system on the bottom or just one single hook system. They designed it so that it has 2 hook systems so that you can pull it up probably, I think, maybe a quarter of the way out of the vessel and hook it on the side. And then what that will do is that'll allow it to drain out some of that liquid, so you're not trying to lift all the way to the liquid and all the way to the grain at the same time. And then also they have a secondary catch system, so once it drains out, that initial drain out, then you can raise it all the way up and you can actually hang it on the top hooks or the bottom hooks on the malt pipe and let it drain out the rest of the way. So this is something that's really, really cool. They actually have applied for a patent for it. And one of the other things that they did, because of it's going to be handling so much weight, they actually put some plates, or they provide you with plates to go on the inside of the hook so that whenever you put the screws through there, it's sandwiched with some really, really heavy duty steel. And, I pushed on this thing and messed with it quite a bit, and I didn't see, I wasn't concerned about it failing at all. So definitely a good idea that they did that, and I think it will definitely help a lot of people's backs. They do also provide a chiller with the kit. And the chiller actually is a 1/2 inch in diameter. The previous one, I think, was like 3/8. They also provide the connection kits to be able to hook it up to a hose bib on your garden, garden hose or whatever, or your sink faucet or whatever like that. One of the things that some people complained about with the 10.5 was that the chiller didn't reach all the way to the bottom. I'm not going to go into a big sidebar on this, but really you don't have to reach the bottom of the vessel in order to do the chilling, because usually by the time the cold water gets near the bottom anyways, it's already equalized with the temperature that's in the kettle. So like I said, I'm not going to go into a big deal about that. However, the one that they provided with the 18-gallon, it does go to probably about 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches from the bottom. So you can definitely use this with the 10-gallon batches as well as the 5-gallon batches and definitely have some success. It looked like it's probably about 25, maybe 30 feet of stainless steel coil. So they definitely do, include a good chiller for it. I'm going to test it out, see how it works, but I think it's definitely a good option that comes included with the kit. All right, so I promised you guys all the measurements on this thing. So with the malt pipe extended on the last catch system, so like if the malt pipe is up as high as it can possibly go, it is 52 inches from the ground all the way up to the top of the malt pipe. Now with the lid on, this unit is 38 inches tall. The malt pipe is 23 3/4 inches high, and the inner diameter of the malt pipe is approximately 12.5 inches in diameter. As far as the malt pipe feet, they're about 1 3/4 inch and 7/8 off of the bottom. I did find that there's roughly about a gallon of dead space underneath of there. Not too much of a deal. The inner diameter of the kettle is 14 3/8 inches. Here's some footage of the lid inner diameters from the inside edge of the lid to the outside edge of the lid, just in case you're wondering about using this on some other kettle that you have or whatever, if you want to do something like that. Now, I also did a quick comparison of the 18 gallon to the 10.5, and it is pretty substantially larger as far as, you know, diameter and height goes. Definitely a really huge unit. It kind of shadows over the other one, you know, it's a little brother. And also the malt pipe, the same thing. Here's some video of the malt pipe sitting side by side. And, you know, definitely you can tell there's going to be some added capacity and added ability to do some mashing with that new malt pipe. So leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the new Anvil Foundry 18. I think it's definitely a contender in the space. I'm definitely excited to start using it and putting it through its paces and see how that false bottom works. Definitely, you know, definitely, if you get the unit, pick up some rice hulls. If you have some issues with drainage or whatever on the malt pipe or recirculation, which also the recirculation kit, I don't have it yet. They were still working on getting the plates for the top, so hopefully I'll get that sometime in the near future, but basically it's going to be about the same design as what the 10.5 is, just a plate that goes on the top with holes in it. No mention of any bags or anything for it yet, so you know, maybe they'll get some of those in the future or whatever. But leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of it. I certainly think it's a contender if you're looking for, you know, something in this space. The price on it as of right now on pre-order is $699, which is really, really competitive in the space. I know it's right there in, you know, right there in the price range of some of the other units out there. You know, some of the other stuff, some of the other units come with a pump, but I do like the external pump on this, being able to clean it and all that type of thing. Or if you have an existing pump from a system, maybe you're downsizing or whatever, and you don't need a pump and you don't want to have to worry about a pump. So, you know, that there's some positives and negatives to that, but I think at $699, this thing is definitely, you know, should go on your short list if you're looking for a system like this. This has been Brian for Short Circuited Brewers. We'll see you on the next video.